Okay, let's start our class today from this question. Question number 35, it says a beam of particles contains neutrons, protons, and electrons. We already know the relative charge of protons is positive, electrons are negative, and neutrons are neutral. But in order to proceed with this question, first you have to recall the law of charges. Actually, in nature, we have only two types of charges. We have a positive charge and a negative charge. Right? इसके अलावा तो और कोई चार्ज नहीं होता है ना. Just we have two types of charges. Either the charge should be positive or negative. If there is no charge, then it is regarded as neutral. So law of charges basically क्या कहता है? When you're gonna study electricity in your physics, you will be studying about charges in detail. But in chemistry, हमें charges की जरूरत जो है ना वो very first topic में ही पड़ जाती है. तो हम सिर्फ charges के बारे में we are going to discussing only those concept of charges which are related to chemistry जितना हमें use करना है. अब law of charges basically states that the like charges repel each other. Like charges, they repel each other. What are like charges? Same charges. Like charges, or you can also write same charges, they always repel each other. Let's say if we have two positive charges placed in front of each other, they will always repel each other. What does that mean? It means that they will exert a force on each other in opposite direction. These two positive charges will always move away from each other. That's what repulsion is, right? And what should be another case of like charges? We have only two types of charges. Two positive charges are the like charges, and similarly, two negative charges are also the like charges or the same charges. If we place two negative charges together, they will repel each other, right? It means they will exert a force in opposite direction on each other. जैसे आपने बचपन में मैग्नेट्स के साथ खेला होगा ना, तो if you bring two magnets closer to each other at one poles, if a magnet has a north pole facing the south pole, they attract each other. But if one magnet has a north pole facing the north pole of the other magnet, they repel each other. अगर नहीं पढ़ा हुआ है मैग्नेट्स के बारे में कभी, या आपने नहीं खेला है उनसे कभी, तो it's okay. You will be studying about magnets in greater detail in physics. But for now, as far as your chemistry is concerned, you just have to remember two things, that in nature, we have only two types of charges, a positive charge and a negative charge. And if we have two positive charges in front of each other, they will always repel. They will exert force in opposite direction. Similarly, if we have two negative charges in front of each other, they will also repel. They will move away from each other. So that's what law of charges says, that same charges, they always repel each other. Two positive charges will repel each other. Two negative charges will repel each other. Similarly, the second statement for the law of charges is that unlike charges. And what does unlike means? Unlike means different charges. Unlike charges or different charges, they attract each other. They always attract each other. What does that mean? For example, if we have a positive charge in front of a negative charge, a positive charge and a negative charge will always attract each other. We have a positive charge in front of negative charge. So these two charges will always attract each other. Means they will move closer to each other. That's it. Ruba beta, we are studying the chapter atomic structure. We have actually just finished the chapter atomic structure. हम कुछ questions और देख रहे हैं उसके. That's it. ठीक है? And after few minutes we will be starting a new chapter. अच्छा भाई, अब what happens? In electricity, if we have one plate that is positively charged, we have one plate, this is positively charged. इस प्लेट पे एक पॉजिटिव चार्ज है. You can imagine it like this. The room you are sitting in, your ceiling जो है वो positive charge है and the floor beneath you is your negative charge. So this is a positively charged plate. Below it we have a negatively charged plate. And if we pass a beam of particles in between these two plates, a beam of particles that contains protons, which are positively charged, it contains neutrons, which are neutral, and it contains electrons, which are negatively charged. All of these particles are running in between these plates. One is positively charged, the other one is negatively charged. So what do you think? The protons being positively charged, when they pass through this plate, the positively charged protons, they will be attracted towards the negatively charged plate. As protons are positive, as they move in between these plates, they will be attracted towards the negatively charged plate. So they are deflected towards the negatively charged plate. And the neutrons, which have no charge or neutral charge, they will pass undeflected. They won't deflect because they do not have any charge. So they do not feel any attraction from the positive or the negative plate. The neutrons, they pass undeflected. What about electrons? Electrons are negatively charged, so they should be deflected towards the positively charged plate, right? Is it clear? Electrons, they are deflected towards the negative plate. Protons being positive, they are deflected towards the negative plate as the negative plate attracts it. Unlike charges and attract current, neutrons being neutral, they passes undeflected. Now, if you look at this question, can you tell me the answer? The question says a beam of particles contains neutrons, protons, and electrons. The beam is passed between the charged plates. Which diagram shows how the particles are affected by the plates? The plate at the top is positively charged and the plate at the bottom is negatively charged. Is this diagram correct? See, protons are positively charged. That's why they are deflected towards the negative charge plate. This is correct. Electrons, they are negatively charged and they are deflected towards the positively charged plate. This is also correct. And neutrons, as they have no charge, that's why they pass undeflected. So option A is correct. But if you see option B, in option B, they have deflected the neutrons. Neutrons, they do not have any charge. So how come a negative charge plate can attract a neutron? It cannot attract a neutron. The neutron must pass undeflected. That's why B is incorrect. C, in option C, the protons are not deflected. Protons are positively charged. They should be deflected towards the negative charge plate. Again, they have deflected the neutrons. Again, wrong. In option D, they have deflected the electrons towards the negatively charged plate. A negative particle cannot move towards the negative charge. It will move away from the negative charge. Right? So D is also incorrect. So your answer is A. My question is, A is the correct option. Okay? पहले तो बताओ सबको ये बात समझ आ गई है? सबने almost A ही आंसर किया हुआ है. My question is, if you see the deflection of electrons, electrons are deflected at greater angles as compared to protons. If you see, electrons are deflected at a wider angles. Electrons ज़्यादा deflect हुआ as compared to protons. Can you tell me why? Can anybody tell me why? Vania has answered because they are small. Yes, because they are lighter. If you recall, the relative masses of protons, neutrons, and electrons are about 2000 times lighter than that of the protons and the neutrons. अगर कोई दो चीजें objects move कर रहे हैं, let's say if you have two persons running with the same speed, one guy is very thin, बहुत light weighted है, the other guy is very healthy, जो कि बहुत heavy weight है. And if you gonna push those two people, so whom you think will be deflected more? अगर आप उनको push करोगे, धक्का दोगे, तो ज्यादा दूर जाके कौन गिरेगा? The heavier one or the lighter one? Obviously the lighter one, the slimmer one. So electrons being lighter, when they experiences of electric force, while passing through the electric plates, they experiences greater deflection. Because the amount of force acting upon proton and electron is equal. Why they are equal? Because force or electric force is acted due to the presence of charges. Proton has a positive 1 charge, electron has a negative 1 charge. As the magnitude of charges is similar on both protons and electrons, so the electric force is same. But electrons being lighter, they are deflected at a larger angles. ठीक है भाई? Make sense? आगे बढ़े? चलो, I think let's move towards paper 4 or paper 2, the theory question. Anik, you asked me one question. Ikra, my voice is low. Voice ka problem. Oh, okay. Today, the very usual question that I forgot to ask. What about my voice? My both. Can you guys see my both of the screens? ठीक है, मैं भूल गया इकरा पूछना. But I think voice का problem और किसी के पास नहीं है. Everything is good. Crisp clear. Oh, what does that mean? Crisp clear. Anik beta, you asked me question number 7, right? Oh, this one. Did we do this in the class? No. ये हमने करा था ना क्लास में या नहीं? No. Okay, let's do this question now. Question number 7, part B. I think part A is very easy. You just have to write the relative charges and the relative masses. This is a 3-mark question, but most of the student loses mark in this question. And the reason being, because when we have written these notes in our notebooks, हमने क्या किया? Relative mass पहले लिखे हैं, relative charge बाद में लिखे हैं. अब student क्या करते हैं? रिलेटिव चार्ज की जगह रिलेटिव मास लिख देते हैं और रिलेटिव मास की जगह रिलेटिव चार्ज लिख देते हैं. अरे भाई, सीधी हेडिंग्स ना. हेडिंग्स में उसने रिलेटिव चार्ज लिखा है तो यू हैव टू राइट द रिलेटिव चार्जेस. ठीक है, वो कॉपी वाला बिल्कुल रटा रटाया जाके नहीं लिख देना होता. हेडिंग तो देखो उसने आगे पीछे कर दी है, राइट? So the relative mass of electrons is 1/2000 and the proton is 1, whereas the relative charge of electron is -1 and for neutrons is 0, neutral. Okay, so this one is very easy. Now for part B, the table shows some information about 6 particles. If you recall, whenever we are using the word particle, it means we may be talking about atom as well as ions, because atoms or ions, they are collectively called as particles. मतलब particle जब हम word use करेंगे वो atom के लिए भी हो सकता है और ion के लिए भी हो सकता है. If you see, we have few particles given and they have given us the number of protons in each particle, number of neutrons and number of electrons. The first question is, what is the nucleon number for particle A? How do you find the nucleon number? Nucleon number is the sum of protons and neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. So in particle A, the number of protons are 37 and number of neutrons are 48. So you just have to add up these two values, 37 and 48. So the nucleon number should be equals to 85. You have to find the nucleon number, which is the sum of protons and neutrons. कुछ बच्चे यहाँ पे सिर्फ neutrons लिख के आ जाते हैं 48. He is not asking you neutrons. He is asking you nucleons with L. Okay. Now the second question is, explain why particle B is a negative ion. If you see particle B is in the second row. It has 53 protons but 54 electrons. It means it must have gained how many electrons? 1 electron. That's why it is a negative ion. So if you find the net charge over particle B, because it has 1 more electron as compared to proton, so it must have a negative ion. So what would you write in this answer? As it has 1 more negative electrons or electron than protons, or it has gained 1 electron. You can also write it like this, 𝐿𝐸, बिल्कुल सही है. Now part 3 is, which two atoms are isotopes of the same element? फर्स्ट टेल मी योर आंसर्स एंड देन आई विल टेल यू कि कौन सही बता रहा है कौन गलत बता रहा है। चलो जल्दी से बताओ। विच टू पार्टिकल्स, विच टू एटम्स आर आइसोटोप्स ऑफ द सेम एलिमेंट? Do you find anything unusual in this statement? Which two atoms are at isotopes of the same element? कोई different है इसमें या नहीं? Okay, some people are saying C and E and some are saying C and D. Very good, beta. Those who are saying C and D and those who are saying D and E also very good. ठीक है। अच्छा, अब ऑब्वियसली सब तो सही नहीं है ना, कुछ गलत है, बट आई वांटेड द रॉन्ग आंसर्स बिकॉज हमें समझाने में फिर इजी हो जाता है। चलो पहले तो मुझे एक बात बताओ, क्या इस क्वेश्चन में आपको कुछ अनयूजुअल दिख रहा है? Just read it very carefully. Is there anything unusual in the font of this question? Atoms. Atoms क्या हुए हैं बेटा? पूरे क्वेश्चन में atoms are written as bold. Why they have bold atoms? पूरे सारे क्वेश्चन देखो, क्या सारे चीजों को, जैसे ये पार्टिकल बी लिखा हुआ है उसको बोल्ड किया हुआ है, क्या किसी वर्ड को बोल्ड किया हुआ है उसने? पूरे इतने सारे अभी तक आप क्वेश्चन देखते आए हो, नहीं किया हुआ। Which two atoms are the isotopes of the same element? If you recall the definition of isotopes, isotopes definition starts from atoms of the same element. It means for any two particles to be isotopes of each other, first of all, they should be in the atomic form. It means they do not have any charge. Their protons and electrons should be equal. पहले तो atoms होना चाहिए. Then you have to see whether if they have same number of protons and different number of neutrons, then you will decide कि isotope है या नहीं. But पहली condition क्या है? For any two particles to be isotopes of each other, they should be atomic, in the atomic form. ठीक है, आयन नहीं होना चाहिए. That's why उसने इसको बोल्ड कर दिया है कि भाई पहले एटम ढूंढो फिर आइसोटोप बताना है या नहीं है. So if you see C and D, yes, C and D have same number of protons. They do have same number of protons, but is C an atom or not? If you see the number of protons of C and number of electrons of C, yes, number of protons and number of electrons are equal, it means C is an atom. Yes, but if you see the particle D has 92 protons but 89 electrons. It means particle D is not an atom but it is an ion. So C and D cannot be called as isotopes of each other because C is an atom. Okay, but D is not an atom. So for any two particles to be isotopes of each other, first of all, they should have to be an atom. Right? So C and D answer हमारा wrong हो गया. समझ आई बात? ठीक है? Whenever you have to choose isotopes, they should be in the atomic form first. D is an ion. Why? Because it has fewer electrons as compared to its protons. कितने electrons कम है इसके पास? It is short of 3 electrons. So it should have a charge of 3 negative. ठीक है? Now find another particle which have same number of protons as that of C. If you see particle E has 92 protons. Particle C also has 92 protons. But is particle E an atom or an ion? First of all, you have to decide that. If you see the number of protons and number of electrons of particle E, it is equal. It means particle E is also an atom. Okay. Now particle C have and particle E, they have same number of protons. What about their number of neutrons? Particle C has 143 neutrons, whereas particle E has 146 neutrons. So the definition of isotopes satisfies all the conditions over here. C and E are atoms of the same element. Why they are the atoms of the same element? Because they have same number of protons, but they have different number of neutrons. So they must be isotopes of each other. So the right answer is C and E. Got it? Disha, Myra, Abiha. And how do you have to explain your answer? You just have to write the definition of isotope, because these are the atoms of the same element with same protons but different neutrons. Okay. Now, Aliza, if you have written only that there are same number of protons and electrons, then it would be considered incomplete answer. Because for any two particles to be isotopes of each other, they must have same number of protons. If number of protons are equal, their number of electrons would automatically be equal. Because in order for any two particles to be isotopes of each other, वो atomic form में होने चाहिए. और अगर कोई atom है तो proton और electron तो equal होगा. So even if you are writing they have same number of electrons, this won't earn you mark because you are writing something extra. If you have written same number of protons and same number of electrons, this will earn you half of the marks. But you also have to add they have different number of neutrons. Isotope की definition complete ही वही होगी जब when you have done talking about atoms, protons and neutrons. इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की बात आप अगर कर रहे हो तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं कर रहे हो तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा क्योंकि आपने एटम्स क्या दिए है ना शुरू में, तो इट मींस कि प्रोटॉन्स और इलेक्ट्रॉन्स तो ऑब्वियसली इक्वल होंगे. ठीक है, चलें भाई. Okay, rest of all the other questions from this chapter is your homework. You have to complete your homework or I will give you like 2 to 3 more days to do all the questions and ask me your queries. आनिक बेटा और कोई क्वेश्चन है आपके पास पूछने वाला या किसी और ने काम होमवर्क किया है एंड इफ यू थिंक कि नहीं कुछ समझ नहीं आया था वो हमें पूछना है. देखो बेटा पूछोगे, बार बार ये नहीं कहा जाएगा कि पूछो. अब अगर आप नेक्स्ट क्लास में मुझसे नहीं पूछ रहे हो रिलेटेड टू होमवर्क, इट मींस दो बातें, या तो आप कर ही नहीं रहे हो होमवर्क या आपको सब कुछ समझ आ गया. And right now you do not have to submit the homework. I'll tell you whenever you have to submit it, but you have to complete the homework. कंप्लीट करना है और मुझे पता लग जाता है किसने कंप्लीट किया किसने नहीं किया. अगर आप कुछ पूछ ही नहीं रहे हो क्वेश्चन में, मेरे पास कोई अगर मैसेज ही नहीं आ रहा है या क्लास में नहीं पूछ रहे हो, तो इट मींस के ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि सारे के सारे क्वेश्चन सबसे हो जाए. कोई ना कोई किसी ना किसी क्वेश्चन में तो फंस रहा होगा ना. ठीक है इकरा, दिस इज अवेलेबल एट द पोर्टल ना. वर्कशीट्स आर गिवन एट द पोर्टल. अगर किसी को अभी भी एक्सेस करने में प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है तो प्लीज मुझे मैसेज कर देना क्लास के बाद. आई विल मेक श्योर यू गाइस हैव एन इजी एक्सेस टू ऑल दी वर्कशीट्स एंड हैंडआउट्स. चलें भाई आगे बढ़े फिर.